Hello.
Oh, can you hear me?
Yes, Sarah.
Okay, good. Hello.
Um, so we changed things just as a quick before we get started. Because of COVID, we began recording all Zoom sessions and consultations and stuff. Put them on YouTube. Helps us out a lot. So just so you're aware.
Okay, works for
Okay.
me.
Did you contact us previously?
Like before I set all this stuff up?
Correct.
No, I don't think so.
Okay, because I just read over the form right now, and you're referred by Paige.
Yes.
Yeah, because she had referred someone else to us, and they had reached out like early COVID. You know.
I think that's someone else. I don't think I did.
Sure. You got a Dutch Shepherd.
Mm-hmm.
It made me crack up when I saw Barking Boy.
Yeah,
So
he is.
So fill me in with this guy.
So I guess I can start way at the beginning. I got him at 8 weeks from a breeder in Oklahoma. And when I got him, he was already kind of weird. But I was like, I'm not sending the dog back, whatever. He was already like terrified of people. It was evident from the beginning that he had a really hard time with men. And I know that's common with dogs. Men are always usually a little bit more intimidating for them. But it was very specific for him. And I've talked to her husband before. I've seen him before. I think maybe something may have happened. He's terrified of like really long objects. Like we have whips because we have horses. And he'd never seen one before, but I pulled one out one time and it was like, run away. Like I didn't even do anything. He was absolutely petrified of it. So pretty confident something may have happened while he was still there with them. That definitely changed things. And he was with me a lot as a puppy. At that time, I was working at a grooming place that also kind of did daycare. So he was introduced to dogs like right off the bat, and he did fine with them. He wasn't a huge fan of small dogs because they were all over him as a puppy. But he had some larger dogs that he was really good with, that they were totally fine. And everything was okay until, he hit probably about like 6 or 7 months. And he started to, do what they always do and get more, I'm a big bad dog kind of. Mm-hmm. And when he finally learned how to bark, it just never stopped.
Sure.
But he doesn't just bark for the fun of it. He barks at people, he barks at dogs. So at home, he only barks if someone comes in the door. And he usually stops if it's someone he knows, unless he's extremely excited, at which point his anxiety and excitement translates through barking. So yes, we're talking about you. And which it's like not necessarily a problem. It's a problem when we have people he doesn't know in the house. And we do from time to time for people who are like fixing things. We've had a lot of work done on our house recently, which has been kind of difficult with him. He's not the kind of dog where I'll look at people and I'm like, you can't come in. He's got to be out of the house. He has his own space. He lives like in the basement with me. And there's a gate at the top of the stairs. And he doesn't ever try to get over that gate. He could if he wanted to, sure, but he doesn't try. And I mean, basically the biggest problems I have with him are, I know he has some trust issues with me when handling situations that he's nervous in. He definitely feels the need to like take over. And I don't think it's necessarily any kind of like protective behavior. He just doesn't trust the situation. He'll just keep barking, won't stop. Even if he's told no, he might cower when I like walk up to him and tell him no, but he'll keep doing it. He it gets quieter. It gets a little bit under his breath. I call it boofing. So he like, cause that's what it comes out as. So he'll give those, he almost bays like a hound kind of initially. And then, once he's told no, it gets quieter and quieter and quieter, but he'll still do it. And he'll make eye contact with you as he does it. He's kind of like, I'm still doing it. I'm still doing it. And so he has quite a personality. He's a really good home dog. He doesn't do anything bad. Even as a puppy, he only chewed like 2 things. House breaking was really easy. He only had about 2 accidents in the house. He's a good dog with like the exception of he hates new people. And when he sees another dog, he is like, hackles are up, and he's got that nice firm stance where he's like, I'm coming for it. And he's really leash reactive. So he cannot meet dogs at all on leash. It's better off leash, and even then it's a little much for him. He's very capable of having friends. He does have dog friends, but he's a lot of dog. So I think for a lot of them it's difficult because he doesn't understand manners with other dogs. So I was also working after the grooming place at a daycare place around here, and he started out fine in the yard when he was, really nervous, didn't know the people, didn't know the dogs. And I had brought a muzzle with him because I originally was just taking him there, and then I started working there, and they never used the muzzle on him. They're like, no, it's fine, no big deal. And then like I started working there, they're like, oh yeah, he like throws dogs in the yard. Like he would literally like pick up tiny poodles and like chuck them. That's not good. Like you shouldn't let him do that. And so they were kind of just like letting him do that. And it led to some more bad behavior where when he's got like a vindictive behavior with dogs. If they give him any kind of attitude, he won't stop giving it back. So he'll kind of stalk them around and nip at their ankles. And he'll start things with them. He's very picky about the dogs he likes, which is frustrating because I have a lot of friends who have dogs that I would love to be able to take him with and do things with them. But it's like, I don't feel comfortable doing it because I don't want to introduce him in a way that's going to make the situation worse. So it's kind of weird. He's difficult. He's a good dog at home. He's a great dog at home, but he's got problems.
Sure. Good. There's a lot of good information here. That boofing cracks me up. That is very.
I'm sure if you meet him, you'll see it. Like you'll hear it. He starts out really loud, and then it's sort of like I don't know what else to call it other than boofing. Like it's this quiet under breath.
I just never heard it termed that way.
Yeah.
I've never actually even heard it termed, but so it's hilarious. And just to clarify, you got him from a breeder, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. So this sounds like genetics.
Oh yeah, I think it definitely is.
The long stick object thing is because he's a nervous dog, most likely. Especially if you got him from a breeder.
Yep.
I highly doubt that they would do anything to, be that impactful to their puppies.
I would to think so, but her husband is a little rough around the edges.
Sure. And so, like, I've had people that have, whacked their dog with a shoe.
Yep.
Or with their belt, right? And the dog's fine. The dog's not scared of the belt or the shoe, right? Because they're a more stable dog.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, he's not.
Or a dog that recovers, right? And you have a nervous dog. So like, let's say if there was something that like a broom could have fell,
mm-hmm.
And that could have been what led to like when the horsewhip thing, right? So whenever I get dogs, especially dogs that have issues with trust, people tend to jump to the abuse reasoning. And almost all the time, there's either no proof.
Yeah.
They don't know any history of the dog. But then there's some other behavioral issue also, right? Where I'm like, well, no, the dog's just nervous. The dog's just fearful. The dog's just anxious, right? Like that's already there. There was nothing that I find that abuse has warranted this to happen, right? Okay. And I've had dogs that had gunshot wounds. I've had dogs that had stab wounds. Sweetest dogs. No issues, no trust issues,
Yeah,
because they didn't have trust issues. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. I was only concerned about it because he really does roll over, and he'll shut his eyes if you get too close to him, you know. So it's kind of like,
Yeah, he's just it sounds like you have a soft dog, a soft, nervous dog. Okay,
like
and
soft.
even though he has moments where he looks like like he's tough, he's faking it.
Oh yeah, no, I know he is. I
Right.
clean his ears and he shrieks like a baby. Like he's fine, but you know, you clip his nails, he's like, it's the end of the world.
Correct. So does all this stuff now make sense? Like,
Yeah.
yeah. So you have a soft dog that's nervous, which is why you're seeing these responses in certain cases. But in other cases, like when you said he's very leash reactive and he's very postured, right?
Yep.
Is perhaps in that moment, by the way, because confidence isn't like isn't a all around kind of thing. So like I'm a dog trainer. I've been doing this for 10 years. I'm known for working with very aggressive dogs, and I'm very confident in those scenarios.
Yeah.
I've been doing it for 10 years. The owner's not confident. The owner's like, what the hell's going on, right? Because they're not used to it.
Yeah.
I also played guitar for a few years, and you put me in front of a bunch of people, I am not confident,
Yeah.
right? So different scenarios will warrant different behaviors.
Okay.
So when he's with you on a leash outside, and he's at the leash end of the leash and he's posturing, it can also be bluffing. Because then if what would really give kind of the answer is if a dog just walked up to him, like if he'd start to cower and move backwards.
He won't. He will go after him.
So then what gives him confidence in that setting isn't so much self-confidence, it's protecting you.
Okay.
Okay? Because you guys are like a family.
Yeah.
Right? So like if we see a mom and dad with their kid and the kid goes under threat, mom and dad should step in.
Yeah.
Right? We don't leave that on the kid to protect mom and dad. So in the animal world, there always has to be someone in charge. And you mentioned it a couple of times where you're like, I don't think he feels very confident in my skills when he feels unsure, right? So I call it a false confidence. Even if he does whoop the dog, okay, I call it a false confidence because it's only because he's trying to protect you, because in every other scenario, I'm picking up nervous, soft dog. Okay, so because that throws people off. They're like, how's a dog so scared of this? But then when it comes to this, they're like super aggressive. And I'm like, well, because there's stuff behind it that you're not seeing, So none of this stuff is really uncommon. I deal with this stuff all the time. The observation of it's usually men that he's kind of wary of, I believe you noted.
Everyone but men are establishing like a working relationship with my male friends with him is really hard. And when he gets to know people, this is something I should have told you this is something that drives me absolutely nuts. When my friends walk through the door, the people he knows, he cannot contain himself. He is so excited, and it doesn't stop. You make eye contact with him after he's calmed down, and he's like, that is an invitation to come up, get in your face, lick you all over, never stop. He does not know how to relax. He does eventually. As he's gotten older, he will go lay down, but it's just kind of continuous. I have a friend who's also named Sarah. He just cries. Like, I'll hold on to him, keep him in a seated position.
Sure.
He shakes, he chatters, he cries. He's just so ready. And it's so hard to try to keep him relaxed through that. I don't know what to do.
Sure. And that's an easy answer, and I'll cover that.
Okay.
So that's just, for me, a dog with no real boundaries. Partially, the nervousness is feeding into that as well. Not in a bad way, though.
Yeah.
The way that he's not able to completely settle. Okay. When you noted the change at the 7 to 6 months, like you said, since he was 8 weeks old, he was a weird dog, right? And that's a lot of times that's either how it starts, or if it doesn't, and the puppy is completely stable, it starts at 7 to 6 or 6 months typically.
Okay.
6 months in a year, especially with our power breeds, Dutch Shepherds, German Shepherds, Pit Bulls, Rottweilers, Cane Corsos, any of those tougher dog breeds. If they're fine as a puppy, they'll be fine, and then they hit 6 months, and all of a sudden there's a shift.
Yeah.
Or at a year, there's another shift. So that's not out the ordinary. And then, and also when you said he found his bark, I think it's very interesting when I get people that get puppies, because they'll say like, oh, this puppy's so quiet and calm, we love it. I'm like, just wait till 6 months, because that's when they find their bark typically.
Yeah, no,
Okay.
he did it earlier, a little bit earlier, and when he
Sure.
found it, it was like, oh my God, like I can do this. And
yes, and I use it for everything. And the reason he barks so much is because he's nervous.
Yeah, I can confirm the nervous part, because he is.
Yeah, so that's where a lot of your issues are stemming from.
Mm-hmm.
When you said that he barks and you confront him, and he kind of puts his ears back and he submits or whatever.
He will submit, but not really.
Correct, because you're looking at submission as stop the behavior.
Yeah.
Right. So what you're doing is you're putting pressure on him, which is, how do you say, applicable to an extent because he is a softer personality type. Mm-hmm. But the reason why he's still boofing is the nervousness. Okay. Okay, it's not letting him completely settle. Okay, so it's like you shut down you're getting like 90% done, but that last 10% is being fueled by residual nervousness. Okay, it's super common. The new people stuff, again, super common with nervous dogs. Leash reactive, common. The daycare stuff, unfortunately, it created a bit of a bully, right, with throwing the poodles or whatever.
Yeah, he literally made him do it. It's like,
yeah.
It's comical, but it's not good. Like
correct. Yeah, because it leads to inappropriate behaviors, and then if he does that to the wrong dog, then we have a bigger problem.
He has before.
Sure. So, so all this stuff makes sense in terms of what you're dealing with. And how old is he again?
He is almost 2 years old. He turns 2 at the end of August.
Okay. Has he made any new friends recently? Dog friends?
Definitely not, because I started working as a vet tech, and I haven't really, I haven't taken him out to meet any of my friends' dogs or anything like that, because a lot of my friends recently have gotten dogs, and they wanted to go do things, but I don't want to make the situation worse. I'd rather like do this, talk to you, and figure out what a good way would be to introduce him, because he's difficult.
Dog introduction. How long have you been a vet tech for?
A little over a year.
Nice. So you got a lot of handling experience then.
Oh yes.
Yeah. Good.
I like the big and aggressive dogs that come in.
Sure.
I'm the only one who does.
Any questions so far?
I don't think so. I guess there was one thing you said that I was curious about when you said like there's no boundaries with him. So maybe it's fake. There are with me, it seems like, but when it comes to other people, no. Like I enjoy when people tell him to do things and he listens, because I think it helps. Because it seems like the people that actually, make him actually follow through with commands, it's better. But he definitely knows who he can push, for sure. Because I know which of my friends who are softer people, he pushes them around, definitely.
So when we talk about boundaries, humans have their perception of what boundaries look like, and dogs have their perception.
Okay.
And it's usually pretty different.
That's fair.
So let's say, what's this guy's name?
Kane.
Kane, that's right. Let's say Kane jumps on you. Okay. How do you address it?
I mean, I usually walk into him.
Okay.
Don't let him do it unless I know it's necessarily not a good thing. If I invite him to do it, because I've done that before, he's allowed to do it, but only in those situations, which I don't know if that's a bad thing. But like when I come home, and he's much quieter when I come home. He'll pick up a toy. He doesn't cry. He doesn't bark. He just kind of will like walk in a circle around me, wag his tail. He'll rub into me. He may be like, if I sit down on the ground, he'll sit in my lap. But with other people, it's like circle, 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 like right in front of them. He doesn't go around them. He just repeatedly does it in front of them. He'll jump on them. Not everyone, though, specific people.
Right.
And there are certain people who feed into it, which drives me crazy. And there are certain people who don't. Like my mom is one of the people where she was home recently. She lives in Alaska. He's a nightmare when she's home. He's the worst he ever is. And it takes me a long time to correct him after she leaves. Because she like feeds into the behavior. I could show you a video of how he reacts when she comes home. It's horrible, and he acts horribly. He like disregards the absolute crap out of me when I tell him to do things when she's home. It's horrible.
So after your mom leaves, how do you correct them?
I mean, I'm very routine with him. You know, I just keep him doing what he's supposed to be doing, and once she's out of the picture, he goes back to listening. So, I mean, he'll sometimes try things here and there. But, you know, it's like when I take him to go outside, he is expected to sit at the bottom of the stairs. I go up the stairs. I open the gate. When I tell him free, he's allowed to come up. When we get to the door, he has to sit again. I'll put on his collar. We go out. I open the door. I'll tell him free again when he's allowed to go out the door. He's much more like he won't do it as quickly or as well after she's here or while she's here.
Yep.
And, you know, it takes a while to get back into the routine, like effectively. But eventually he does. He's also way more barky when she's here because she'll bark back at him. And it takes a while for that to like die down. You know, like if my brother comes in and out of the house, he'll, you know, run up the stairs, put his hackles up, even if he knows it's him, and bark, 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 run downstairs, get a toy, go back up, bark, 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 bark. And eventually it does start to die down because my brother tells him no too, and he does kind of listen, but not really. But like, it's almost like settling kind of after she's gone. He learns that she's not here anymore, and he quiets down and starts to listen again, which sucks. I hate it.
So, this is super common, okay? In that whole explanation, there was no real correction.
Yeah.
Okay. So what people think is correction is not correction.
Okay.
Typically, okay? So what you said was, there was only one thing that technically, it's a correctional approach, but it doesn't work well for dogs, is when you said you walk into him.
Okay.
Okay, because he jumps on you. So a correction is to stop the behavior.
Yeah.
You move in, so then it removes him, right? A real correction dissuades the behavior from, or the dog from performing the behavior again. Okay, and I'm gonna explain all this stuff. So when we went to your mom, and I was like, how do you correct them? Because you said, when my mom leaves, I correct them, and then he settles back in, right? But really, it was just routine.
Okay.
Right? And because the stimulus is gone, your mother, the variable, he settles after a period of days, right? But it should be, if you have a means of correction, it doesn't matter if it's your mom or any other favorite person in the world to him. If you've disagreed with something, he doesn't do it.
Okay.
Okay? It's very simple. So if we take that behavior of jumping on someone to jumping on another dog, okay? And that dog did not like Kane jumping on them. How would they correct him?
They would probably bite him.
They would bite him.
Yeah, so like, I love it. I have an e-collar and a prong, and I do use both.
And we'll talk about that.
Yeah.
Okay, because and you got that through your first trainer, was it?
Yeah, I got it through she's a rep for one of the companies, so I have I could tell you what it is, but right now I can't think of what it is. I know it's not the one you use because Paige has shown me it.
Sure.
I don't know if that's a problem. I don't know if yours is like better, different. Okay, well, we can get there. If I need to buy another one, I will buy another one. It's okay.
I'll explain it all too. Okay. So you have correctional tools. I like that.
And I do.
You have a prong collar. Okay. So let's talk about the prong collar first. I love prong collars.
I think they're great.
Yes, they're very effective tools.
Yeah.
However, let's say, Kane goes into reactivity, he has his prong collar on, and you correct him.
Yes.
If he's at a 20 and you can only go to a 10, you're never going to stop it.
Mm-hmm. I'm kind of rough with corrections, not gonna lie. Like, I'm not nice about it at all.
Sure. No, you don't need to be nice. Okay.
Yeah.
And you don't need to be mean either. You just need to be firm.
Mm-hmm.
But let's say he becomes reactive and he's lunging and barking, and you give him your harshest correction, but he's still lunging and barking.
Yep.
Right? A lot of people struggle with that because their intensity isn't enough to override the dog's intensity. Okay, so that's one aspect of it. Okay. The e-collar, there's different models, there's different brands. Yep. I've walked into homes plenty of times where the owner has worked with another trainer.
Yep.
And I know that yours is from a rep, but they worked with another trainer and they're like, oh, I already have an e-collar. And I'll look at it and they'll have a 120-pound dog. And I go, that e-collar is meant for a 35-pound dog.
I have one of the hefty ones. Like, I have what is it called? Is it Educator? I think that's what it is. I have the Boss.
Educator.
Like
Yes. So that one. Now I'm going to talk about that brand.
Yeah.
They're a really good brand. They're the second best in my opinion. Okay.
Something, right?
Yeah. The issue I have with e-collar technologies is that in the very beginning of my career, I got just a flood of aggression cases.
Yep.
And they're super easy because as a retailer, I could call them and they would overnight me a single collar and I would still make money off of it. So I didn't have to buy inventory.
Yeah.
Okay. So for a startup business, it was perfect.
Great. Yeah.
But all those dogs that I was using that collar on were becoming more aggressive.
Ooh, that's not fun.
So then I switched to Dogtra, which is what my mentor uses. And all of them began making progress. Okay. My theory is the Educator or the e-collar technology is a little bit sharper. And the Dogtra series is more dull. In terms of how it comes across. Okay. And, in 10 years of working with e-collars on every dog that I train, there are subtleties, and I'm actually going to put together a video because I have a case right now that we use 2 different collars on them, and you can see a very clear difference. And that's why I tell people, like, you want this model for this dog. And sometimes I get I'll get I remember there was a Frenchie who was super crazy, and I told the lady, get this collar, and she's like, but that's meant for like a Rottweiler. I'm like, I know, but your dog is fucking crazy. Yeah. Right. And then sure enough, he needed it. Yeah. But anybody else would have gone by his size. Yeah. And I go by, the behavior and then just, what I know of dogs and stuff like that. And I'm not opposed to using the Boss to see if it works. Okay. The only drawback would be, let's say we use it for a few weeks and you're stuck. Yeah. Then you kind of wasted a couple of classes. Okay. Yeah, I don't do that. So, but it is a very good brand. And I had more issues with the Boss than I've had with the other version, the smaller one. Yeah. Okay. Because of the output. I don't think it's regulated very well.
Yeah, I put both of them because I put both of them on myself. And there is a big difference. Yep. I feel like on the other one, there were some discrepancies with it because like sometimes it would work and sometimes it would not. And I can't do that with him. Like if it's not consistent, it's not going to help me.
Correct. And I've had more issues with e-collar technology collars than Dogtra. Batteries dying, malfunctions.
Yeah, I had a problem with it. I mean, something stupid, like one of the caps or something on the brand new thing cracked. It was brand new. Sure. And like someone had smashed it into a wall. It's mine. I have it on my neck all the time. So
yeah. Yeah. So it's Dogtra. I mean, it's going to happen. They're mechanic like a cell phone, right? But with Dogtra throughout the years, maybe 1 or 2 a year will have an issue. Okay. And then they send it gets fixed and they send it back and then no big deal. So, but I'm not opposed to using it to see what, just to get started. Yeah. So I know I read that like the first trainer was a bit forceful or like over assertive.
I've done I guess hypothetically you're the third now. So the
Right.
first one was really rough on him. And this was before he really had like horrible behavior.
Mhm.
Horrible. Not really horrible, but and she was very dead set on like, your dog will bite you, your dog will attack you. That's never happened.
Sure.
He'll bite me. When I say bite me, he'll like baby put his mouth on my arm. Like when I'll tase him in the side, kind of in his hip area,
Sure.
and he will scream like I'm beating him with a 2x4. Like people think I abuse my dog in my neighborhood because he's so vocal.
Yeah.
And that's why I don't take him for walks here too, because I hate doodles. Everyone has a doodle here.
Sure.
And they don't correct them at all. So they're these crazy bundles that are jumping at the end of their leashes, and he won't react if the other dog is just walking. He's totally fine. He'll get excited, but he won't do anything. He'll like look at them, look at me, look at them, look at me, but he'll keep going. He'll be fine. But when we get to like the doodles and the crazy dogs, it's like I know for sure there's gonna be a reaction. I'm gonna correct him, and the people across the street are gonna, oh my God, that's horrible. Don't do that. And I'm like, I hate it. I hate it.
I trust. I'm very familiar with that.
It's
So,
the worst.
And that vocalness, it's like a shepherd thing a lot of times.
Oh, I know. I had one growing up. She was very vocal.
Yeah. So it sucks, especially if you get one that's verbal or vocal in response to corrections.
He's when we're out in public, since he's all the way up there,
Yeah.
it's like the loudest, the highest pitch thing, and it sounds like a nightmare.
Sure. No. Questions so far about any of this stuff?
I don't think so.
So we were talking about the corrections, right? And then how a dog would bite them.
Mm-hmm.
And you have correctional tools, right? But in certain settings, you don't have those tools. Like for instance, maybe you could just come home from work and he's excited to see you and he jumps on you, right?
Yes.
I'll give you other means or educate you on other means of correcting your dog so that it can be, you get the full scope. Okay.
Yeah, that's what I need. I've been trying to, but it's so hard.
It doesn't, how'd you say, you don't always have to have your training tools on them.
Uh-huh.
You teach you other ways, okay? But it's going to be using everything.
Okay.
In regards to like the reactivity stuff and the nervousness and like just social behavior, the way we would approach this is, does he have a heel command?
He does. So when I actually take him out for walks, if I tell, it needs work for sure. When I tell him to heel, he will stay, he'll take a few steps ahead sometimes, and I'll correct him and he'll come back and I'll tell him, like he's doing what he's supposed to do. And then he's like, oh, I'm done. I'm like, no, that's because his word for being done is always free. Like that's the word he knows. He's not stupid. So he'll heel, but it needs work. And I don't know what else to do to make it work.
I'm assuming the first trainer taught you how to teach the heel.
No one taught me how to. I literally did it myself. Both trainers that I've worked on with for him have been a nightmare. Like, it's been horrible. It's been the worst thing ever. And like, I worked for one of them afterwards. That place is a mess. It's a horrible facility. Like, it's a nightmare. No one ever actually helped me with anything. Everything that's ever been done with him has been me. So like, it's horrible because sometimes I'm like, I feel like I'm failing my dog because I'm just trying to help him, but no one's helping me. So it's been a mess.
Oh, it's very unfortunate. I'm sorry you had to go through that.
Sucks.
Is even if a trainer uses e-collar or prong collars and stuff, doesn't mean they actually know how to use them. And one.
Anyone has.
The other one is most trainers actually don't know how to train correctly.
I would agree with that.
Anybody can shape behaviors, and shape is like, you use the treat, you get the sit, right? You go down, you get the down. But it's very, very rare to find a trainer who can teach these skills that you can apply to life.
Yeah.
right? So that means if I say heel, I can walk my dog through a park and not worry about everything that's going on.
Yep.
Okay. It's super rare, and people don't, unfortunately, aren't aware of this themselves, because they're thinking, oh, this should be easy.
No,
It's not.
it's been hard.
Even if you have a dog that doesn't have issues, to get reliable obedience is to find a trainer who can give you reliable obedience is rare.
Yeah, and that's why I was willing to contact you, because like Paige always talks about how everything's gone with Shadow, and I'm like, all right, fine. If it's far, it's far. That's fine. Like, I don't care.
And what we began doing, like I told you, we began recording everything now, is because of COVID, we're not touching the dogs, right? It's all the owner.
Yeah.
We're coaching the owner to do it. And I knew myself that I could do it. But people didn't know that it could be done.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, well, training the people is the hardest part usually.
Right.
So
we had a client who had signed up literally the week before quarantine happened. Okay, they signed up, they paid. They're supposed to start that following Sunday. It was actually Paige's neighbor, Melissa.
Oh.
And who has NASH.
Oh, yeah, I know who that is. Okay.
Yeah. So they were supposed to start Sunday, just a week after they signed up. Friday, quarantine hit.
Oh.
And everything shut down, right?
Yeah.
So after a month, I was like, I got to do something,
Yeah.
right? And I was like, I know I can train dogs without, there's certain things that I know I can get done for sure.
Yeah.
So we contacted people, and everybody was like, well, if Jesse's not going to work with the dog, we don't want to do the training, right? So then, but Melissa was like, yes, let's start the training, because Nash, I'm not sure if you knew or know, he broke the husband's shoulder a couple of times.
Oh, boy.
He sent him to the ER 3 times in like 2 years.
Oh, no.
Yeah, Nash he's very friendly.
Yeah, he's a nice dog.
Yeah, but very large and, uncontrollable.
He's not uncontrollable, but he's a lot like that.
So, they were like, we'll give it a shot.
Yeah.
Right. And I wish I would have recorded that first class, because it was night and day.
Ugh, that's
night and day, right? So then at the end of after the second class, I was like, would you guys do a testimonial? And they said, absolutely. And they did one, and they posted it up. And after I posted that up, we just got a flood of dogs coming in. So I was like, thank God. So then I was like, we started recording everything, because now people can see us. It's uncut, it's unedited.
Yeah.
Okay. We have all different kinds of dogs coming in. We had a little tiny dog. We had a 6-month-old mini Bernedoodle. We have a German Shepherd that's reactive, overstimulated, anxious, really anxious pity, right? We're getting all these great cases. And then you're just seeing class 1 to class 2 to class 3, and just the gradual progression. And we're not touching the dog.
Yeah.
So the great thing about that is you're learning everything from ground zero.
Yeah.
Okay. It's a little bit more frustrating, because, we're coaching you, and you have to decipher what we're saying and what you're doing to make the picture happen, essentially.
Yeah.
Right. But the first class is always the hardest. Once we teach that and you understand it, it's super easy. Okay. It's very easy. E-collar is the tool, and you already have one, so that's great, is that allows us to do this. Okay. In your case, the way I would approach this, and it all depends on like how long and cost and stuff, just depends on how much you want to get done. Okay. Yeah. When I look at your case, I go, we definitely need to get the reactivity down. Yes. Which requires the heel command. I'm assuming you'd want to get him better with introducing the people, like kind of recovering and trusting faster.
I have to treadmill him. I have a dog treadmill. So like when new people come over, I will literally put him on the treadmill and then leave him on there while they're in the area.
To kind of desensitize them. And
yes, and that's the best thing to do that I've found, because it not only gets out some of the, extra energy that he decides to show, but like he can think about the situation, smell the area, because he's very sniffy. And then usually after that, I don't just let him buck wild after that, because honestly, I don't really trust him. So I'll usually like tie him to his kennel and have them throw a ball back and forth with him, because he's crazy about balls. and usually that'll get him to trust them eventually, and then I can let him off. But he'll act like he's happy to see them and excited if they're sitting down and kind of like relaxed. But the moment they move, he's like, whoa, we didn't agree on this. Like, you know. Yes, he's very nervous.
So I have the reactivity, building trust with people, and then also dog socialization.
Yes, because I would love to be able to take him with some of my friends' dogs. He has not met Shadow at all, and she wants.
And I was going to ask you that, yeah.
Yeah, and I really want to do that, but I'm just like, I'm afraid to make things worse with him. Like, I don't want to do the wrong thing.
Correct. So the way I approach things, the way we approach things here is we don't teach what you don't need. Okay? We teach what you want and what we feel you need. Okay. So the way I would approach this is the first 2 classes we would do heel. Okay. My style of heel. If I take 1 step, the dog takes 1 step. If I take 5 steps, the dog takes 5 steps. When I stop, the dog automatically sits, and this is a completely slack leash, and I don't care what the environment is. Okay. I don't care if there's doodles. I don't care if there's people running. You know, I don't care if there's like a parade of dogs walking by. It's expected that he's on my side and behaving himself. Okay. So the theory here is, if I get that level of discipline from Kane, you're so important to him that the things that he would typically be reactive towards don't matter anymore. Okay, so he's more worried about you than he's worried about the dog crossing the street.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, in some cases, that doesn't work. Okay. It's okay. It just means you get to change things now. So if the dog has been doing it for too long, or if the behavior is too severe, the dog's going to say, screw your heel. I'm going to lunge and bark at that dog.
Yeah.
Right? So then we need to correct them for the behavior itself. Okay. So if mom dog were to be walking her puppy on a leash and the puppy were to start lunging and barking and the mom decided, I don't like that, she would bite them. Right? Now, obviously dogs don't walk each other on leashes, but that's how they would handle it. So we need to replicate that. E-collar allows us to replicate that. Okay. So that's easy. And then we see how it works. Okay. So first class, I teach the first half heel. Then the second class, I go how to go. And you're like, Jesse, man, 60% of the reactivity gone. I'm like, beautiful. Where did you see reactivity? Oh, some dogs were barking at him. I go, okay, what else? You're like, that was it. I'm like, that makes a lot of sense. So he's okay with walking past dogs and puppy type energies and all these other ones, but dogs that bark at him first is a problem still.
Yeah, that's usually a problem for him.
Yeah. So, because there's a spectrum in reactivity. So it starts with like human reactivity, or like bikers, skateboarders, runners, stuff like that, is usually the first thing to go away.
So we've moved kind of past that. So he used to be reactive to bikes and runners. He has kind of calmed down with that. Good.
But that's typically the first part of if a dog has reactivity towards both, human reactivity almost always goes away first. Okay. Then it's calm dogs. Then it's excited or puppy type energies, reactive dogs, or if you turn the corner and then there's just a dog, those are end of spectrum.
Yeah, I'm always worried about that.
That's typically how it progresses. Okay. So with the other reactive dogs, you have to think like he does. If they're barking at him, it's like they're putting out threat.
Yeah.
Right. So then he's going to reciprocate and say like, hey, you can't talk crap to me. Here we go. But you can teach him that he does not need to respond to that. Okay. It takes longer because typically that person wants to remove themselves from the situation as well. Right.
Here.
So, not here? Not over there?
They're like, oh, look, they're excited. And I'm like, can you please?
Just keep going.
Yeah, no, they don't get it here. No.
It could work to your benefit because here in the city, people want to leave.
Yeah, not here.
So it makes it harder because if you don't shut down Kane before they leave, he thinks he caused them to leave.
Yes.
So that rewards the behavior.
Okay.
These sudden run-ins with dogs, well, you can't plan that, right? You just turn a corner, crap, dog.
Oh, yeah. People evacuate when they see him, and by that I mean they go to the other side of the street.
Sure.
Like everyone here has soft, cute, cuddly dogs, except for a few people.
And you got
Yeah, I have a Dutch Shepherd. There's a few people with Shepherds here. There's someone right down the street from me who has, I mean, I don't know if I want to call him an aggressive dog, but basically an aggressive dog. And they've had a few run-ins, and it's not good.
Sure.
And they don't control their dog at all.
Yeah. And that's, I mean, it sucks, but that's going to happen.
Yeah.
But we educate you on all that stuff.
Yeah.
Okay? So the way we'd approach this is, you know, the first 2 classes on heel, you would be our how'd you say, report card of how he did.
Uh-huh.
If the first week to the second week is, you're like, man, huge difference, we'll make a few tweaks, you know, and I'll tell you, like, do this when you're in this kind of context. Here's the second half of heel.
Uh-huh.
We teach it, you leave, you come back class 3. How'd it go? Jesse, it's been amazing. Still a couple of moments, but very easy to address, very easy to shut them down, or we don't see it at all, okay? Then I go, perfect. You keep doing that, and now let's start working on other stuff, okay? If you want to work on like socializing with people and building trust in the territorial thing, that's typically like a 1 to 2 class thing, because it's information, okay? And then you take the information and then you practice it.
That I would love to go over, just because like I have a lot of people that still haven't met him.
Sure.
I mean, they're not in the area as much, but like when they do come over to see me when they are around, it's just like difficult because he's just so terrified of them.
Correct. So we give you information on that. Whether or not, so when it comes to the socialization stuff, the human stuff is typically easier because you can tell the human what to do,
okay,
and they'll follow directions. Excuse me?
The dogs, not so much.
Not so much, exactly. So there's 2 parts to this. One is when a person enters the home, you know, the way you're working around it is very smart, okay? And it makes sense, like the way you, like, right when you said I treadmill him when they come in and stuff, I'm like, it makes complete sense.
Yeah, it works for him for the most part. Yeah.
And we'll give you another way that, in my experience, should work better. Okay. Because when someone knocks on the door or rings the doorbell, like, oh, my cousin's coming over or my friend's coming over.
Yeah.
It's not, right? And what happens is his territorial instinct of barking to say intruder alert kicks in, but then he gets nervous because he doesn't know how to handle the situation. So you got these 2 things intertwined with each other. So what we need to do is communicate to him that he needs to relax and shut down like in a sense of shut down the territorialness. Mm-hmm. So he's a nervous dog. We can help him handle the nervousness better. Okay. But we cannot make him unnervous.
Yeah.
Okay. So if he's being territorial and nervous, when you remove the territorial behavior, it becomes a lot easier to handle the nervousness. Uh-huh. Okay. And then that's one part of it. The second part of it is, okay, you now know how to shut down the territorial behavior and relax him, but now we need him to build trust with people.
Yes.
But you're going to have a hard time building trust if you don't completely resolve the tension. Okay. So like when you said he'll settle and everything will be calm, but then the person gets up and then he starts barking, right? That's the residual tension that's not been addressed, okay? Once we address that and you remove suspicion, that allows curiosity to come out, and then you can start building a relationship with people, okay? The dog one is a little bit trickier because we can't control dogs to that specific of a degree.
Yeah. Right?
Because you can tell your guests, like, come in, sit on the couch, completely ignore them, don't look at them, do this and do that, right? And they can do it to the T.
Yeah.
Whereas dogs just kind of come in and you can tell them to sit and lay down, but then when you tell them to go, when you release them, you can't tell them like, all right, don't sniff his butt and don't approach him from the face, right? Like you can't do that. So with the dog one, I show you an exercise of how we go about socializing dogs. Okay. And then you just repeat it. Okay. It's very simple. It's usually a 1-class thing. Sometimes at the end of the first class, the dogs are intermingling and they're smelling each other and they're relaxing. They lay down next to each other. Sometimes they play. Sometimes we don't get that right off the bat, but the owner will do it like 20 times on their own time. and then the dog becomes friends with that dog.
Okay.
Okay, because it's like building a relationship or a friendship with someone. Like you don't just like trust them with your life.
Yeah.
Right? Like you hang out, you find you have common ground, you know, you have disagreements and agreements, you know, you go through hard times and good times together, and that builds a stronger friendship or relationship. Mm-hmm. Same thing for the dog. You know, people are wanting the play, right? But if you have a nervous dog with trust issues, he's not going to just go to play right off the bat.
Yeah.
You have to build comfort. And he's like, oh, I've seen this dog 100 times and there's never been any tension between us. And there's never been any issues. And it's always been a good time. Cool, I trust you. You know, and then that becomes one new dog friend. And then the more you repeat it, in some cases, you can turn the dog around where they become social.
Yeah.
But there's no guarantee that it'll happen because I can't make him be social, right? That's his thing. We can help him.
Too much.
But we can't make it.
Yeah.
In your case, I think it's doable because he was social as a younger puppy.
Yeah, and he is really, I mean, he loves his friends, you know, like he's excited to see them and he's not too pushy with them. Mm-hmm. He had, when I was working at that other daycare training place, he was very, the way he approached certain dogs that he knew was very varied. Like there were some older dogs that he was very gentle with. Like he was very calm with and nice with, and it was totally different. But then there were other dogs where they would bounce off the walls together.
Sure. Yeah. There might be some personalities that he won't vibe with either.
There definitely are.
Yeah. And that's perfectly fine. You know, there's an unrealistic expectation of my dog should love everyone and everything. Yeah. That's not how it works. Yeah. I don't like everyone, right? I'm sure not everyone likes me.
Yeah, no.
So it's just the way of the world, okay? So in terms of length of time and cost, mm-hmm. You know, if you're really just wanting to address these core issues,
yeah.
I have 6, 9, and 12-week programs. Okay. So it's one day a week for an hour. Mm-hmm. So 6, 9, or 12 lessons essentially. If you're really wanting to focus on the reactivity and the socialization stuff, I would say the 6-week. Okay. Now we are cutting off recall. Okay. Recall, in my opinion, is one of the most important commands to teach a dog. Yeah. If that is something you're wanting to cover, you're more in the 9-week realm. Okay. 12-week is everything. Plus, we try to train everything up to off-leash reliability. Okay. So that's heel, sit, down, stay, come, and place command. Okay. In terms of how do you say, like, let's say you do the 9-week one, mm-hmm. and maybe we get everything done within like 7 classes, and you have 2 classes left over. You can either save them in case something pops up, or you say, what else can I learn? And I go, well, this is what we can teach. What would be useful for you? And maybe you would want like a stationary command. Like, you know, if I say down, my dog will lay down and not move for 4 hours. Okay. If you're like, yeah, I need that. I'm like, great, I'm gonna teach it to you. Okay. And that's usually a class. And then, oh, we got 1 more left. And you go, you know what, I'm going to save it. I'm like, great. You know, let us know whenever you need it and we'll get you scheduled in. Okay. We've also added in 2 Zoom lessons to our programs. Okay. Okay. So you're really getting 8, 11, or 14 hours of work, depending on the program. Okay. And we would use those Zoom sessions for, like, for instance, having guests come over, because we've had to temporarily suspend in-home visits because of the epidemic. So what I do is I send you videos and I go, here, watch this video. It's a lesson of me working with another dog. And then we're going to do our Zoom session. Okay. And then you can ask questions of maybe things that you didn't quite pick up from the video or didn't understand. And maybe 20 minutes into the Zoom session, you're going to have a friend come over to knock or whatever, you know, and then I can coach you through what you need to do, but you already have the visual, right? You know what it's supposed to look like. And then we talk about the approach and specifically to Kane. Okay. And then you have someone come over during that session, mm-hmm. and I coach you through it. Okay. And then you just practice it. once you learn the skill, it's really easy. It's just the learning part that's difficult. You can also use your Zoom sessions for like just questions, you know. I would much rather want to use the time that we have together to work on the stuff that we need to do at that time.
Yeah.
And then save questions for the Zoom stuff.
Okay.
Okay, because we can set up a Zoom at any point and get those questions answered. So it's the way you get the most out of our time when we see each other.
Yeah.
Okay. Also, because of the epidemic, we've switched it to people meeting us here in the city.
Okay.
Okay. I used to travel to Highland Park, Deerfield. My stepdad actually lives in Deerfield. I used to work in Highland Park, so I'm familiar with that area. Lombard, Winnetka, Skokie, Park Ridge, Montino, Tinley Park. I used to be all over the Chicagoland area. But now, because business is slow and I have to cut costs, I spend a lot of time here at my facility.
Yeah.
And to see 8 people in a day was like a 13-hour day for me.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Because all the driving, right? So now if everybody meets us here in the city, that makes things easier because I can see 8 people within 9.5 hours because we're all meeting at one spot, okay? We've not had anybody have any, how would you say, issues with that? Because I know there's a whole concern of, well, what about my environment? Yeah. Right? And the only time that we've had people struggling with transferring obedience to their environment is because they're not going high enough on the collar.
Okay.
Okay. And you'll see it in like if you watch my lessons and I'm talking to the owner and I'll say like, how's reactivity? And they'll say like, well, we had a couple of moments. I'm like, well, how'd you go? They're like, well, we went to 60. I'm like, but last time we went to 95, so why would you go to 60? You know, it's the emotional or the psychological aspect of trying to train their dog and feeling bad about going that high on the collar.
I feel bad.
Right? So as long as people are willing to do what they need to do, it really minimizes the transference in terms of having issues from here in the city to there in Highland Park. Okay. If anything, if you can get it done here, it should make Highland Park easy peasy because there's dogs, skateboarders, rollerbladers.
Yeah.
All that stuff. Okay. The drawback is, of course, it's a trek for you.
I mean, I'm not that bothered by that because, like, I'm off Mondays and Wednesdays. So, you know, if I need to, I don't think it's that far of a drive for me. I think it's like 35 minutes.
No, if you come during the day, like, especially before, I want to say 1 to 2-ish.
Yeah.
Like, if you come like 10-ish, it's easy peasy.
Yeah.
But after like 2 o'clock, 1 o'clock, going back north tends to be a problem from the city.
Yeah.
Okay. The other option that we potentially have here is one of my, I have a couple of trainers here that I'm just starting to give their own clients.
Okay.
They're very solid trainers. They do all our board and trains here at the facility. And they've done great work. Okay. I've not touched a majority of our board and trains and the people are completely happy with what they've gotten, which speaks for them.
Yeah.
Now what they're doing is they're learning how do I teach the owner to teach the dog and how do I troubleshoot in a home setting.
Yeah.
Okay, which is different. I have been doing this for 10 years. That's how I started.
Yeah.
So now they're developing that skill is I can send you a trainer and it'd be for the same cost, but they would be coming to you.
Okay.
Okay. And we just have to set up a time. Right now, it'd most likely be my trainer, Enrique. Because I know on Wednesday, he's starting a client in, I think, Palatine, which is like north and then west.
Yeah.
And he's going on Wednesdays.
Okay.
So then I know you said Mondays and Wednesdays are your day off, right? So that could potentially work.
Yeah.
The drawback here is he's not going to have my insight, right? Yeah. But he's most likely going to come back to me and like say like, hey, we were doing this happened. So I would talk to him, this is how you're going to fix it. And he'd go back, right? Your Zoom sessions would still be with me.
Okay.
Okay. And what we did for the other gentleman, just so you have numbers, it was the same cost. It's $825 for the 6 lessons. but I gave him another Zoom lesson. So we got 3 Zoom lessons and 6 in-person lessons. Okay. There's a travel fee of $25 per class, so it's $150 for the 6-week program. And then it's just the cost of your collar, which if you want to start off on the boss, again, I don't have a problem with it. But then if we find like we're having issues, then I would say like you want to make sure you get this collar. Okay. So that's a potential. So
how much is that collar?
So the one that I would recommend to you, they just discontinued it. Okay. Now you can still find some on the internet. I think they still have them on eBay.
Okay.
And it's $352 with tax. Okay. So it's the same price as the boss, I believe.
Yeah. I got mine for cheap.
Oh, because you got it from the rep.
Yeah,
right?
I think I spent like $150.
Yeah, you got it at retail or wholesale. Right. You got it at wholesale. Yeah. Which is, I mean, considering what you paid for it, and that's a really good deal for sure. Training wise, it's kind of up in the air.
Like, have to see. I think I would probably start with it just to see, because like I don't want to spend the extra if I don't have to. Also, I'm not like flush with cash right now, so yeah, I think we'll start with that, and then if I need to, what's it called?
A Dogtra DOGTRA 3500 NCP.
Okay.
Yeah, they made a new model, and it sucks. I called them. I told them myself. I said, "Why'd you guys discontinue this model? It's your best collar." And they're like, "Oh, did you try the Dogtra 3500X?" I'm like, "Yeah, it sucks."
Oh man.
So I hope they bring it back. But I've seen a few on eBay. I actually need to buy one myself. Mm-hmm. So if you need to get one, you can let us know. I can see if I can dig one up from a client or something that doesn't need theirs anymore. So the drawback would be, of course, Enrique doesn't have my insight, but he's got the knowledge. Now he's just trying to learn how to help people. Okay. You get an extra class with me via Zoom. So you get an extra hour there just to kind of help compensate a little bit. Mm-hmm. And then his travel fee is way cheaper than mine. Okay. My travel fee is my hourly rate.
Oh God.
So my hourly rate's $135. So if it's 3 hours out the day for me to go up there and then come back, like it triples the cost of everything.
Yeah.
So otherwise, you have a couple of options. We could travel to you, or he can travel to you, or you can travel to us. And since you're coming from so far, what we would do is most likely set you up to meet us at Independence Park, which is right off the expressway. Okay, because if you try to come to Oz Park where we train, the benefit is it is super busy. Okay, so it's difficult, but you're developing that skill set in a very realistic environment, if not unrealistic to you because it's quieter by you. Yeah. But if you can do super hard, then your area should be like super easy.
Yeah, I think that would probably be good for him, because the thing is, I would kind of like you, whomever would be doing it, to see him.
Sure.
Just because I think it would, help. Because obviously right now he's just like splayed out on my floor. He's not going to show you anything, he's just doing his thing. But it would probably be good for me to take him to a place that at least had stuff going on, because then he'd be kind of a wreck.
For sure. We could also, like, you do that for a couple of classes, and like, let's say he 180s. Mm-hmm. You're like, holy shit, like this was really fast, and like it's easy, and I get it. And then you don't need the environment anymore because you already got it, and you want to switch to independence. I wouldn't have a problem with that. Okay. We would just may only need to change your time, just because since we're at Oz and then we got to leave to go to Independence, mm-hmm. We have to move things around a bit. Okay. But yeah, I've been working at Oz. It works really well. And if you want examples of our work, just go to my YouTube channel. Mm-hmm. One dog in particular, his name is Finn. He's a German Shepherd, and the first class was brutal on the owner.
I feel like that'll be me with him.
Yes. And she pushed through it. She felt bad because he was yipping, and that dog actually was not on the correct collar. Okay. But her collar hadn't come in yet, and she wanted to start, so we borrowed her one.
Yeah, I kind of like to learn how to use mine like more properly, just because like I don't really know what I'm doing with it. I just have it.
Right. So we
Like,
would teach you that.
you know,
Um, and then when she came back for the second class, it was, man, he wasn't even like 5% of what he was the first time we saw him.
I think that's probably the best bet because I'm gonna be a nervous wreck, honestly, too. So it'd
Yeah.
probably be good for me.
And afterward, or actually too, for the socialization stuff, because Paige just lives like a few blocks away from Oz Park.
Yeah,
We can coordinate with her to see if she can bring by Shadow, and I would show you how you would
you definitely would.
how we go about creating that relationship.
Well, that's
Okay.
nice. Okay.
Yeah. Any questions?
I don't think so. I think we're on the right path. I think we're gonna start with probably the 6 weeks and see where we go from there.
Sure. So what I'll do is after the call, I'm going to talk to Maria,
Uh-huh.
and she'll relay or repeat everything to you. She'll send you a form, break down the prices, and then once you're ready, it's first come first serve essentially.
Okay.
And then I'll have to talk to her because my schedule is limited.
Yeah.
But I know I have to start opening up because we just had like 6 or 7 consultations come in like one day.
Wow.
Yeah, it was a lot. So things are starting to pick up training wise. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's difficult because facility is still slow because everybody's working from home or they're not traveling. So like we don't really have a lot of dogs here.
Yeah.
So it's trying to coordinate everything between me going to do training but having people here at the facility to like take care of stuff. So.
Ooh, actually, that was a question I was going to ask you. So you guys do daycare, right?
Yeah.
So would it be beneficial for him at all for me to bring him to daycare? Or is that something you wouldn't want to do because we haven't done any kind of socialization with him yet?
Well, that's fine. We can help so the way our daycare could benefit you is we do take things slower.
Uh-huh.
And we don't rush dogs into play settings. We build the trust first.
Yep.
So like Finn, the one I just mentioned, he comes to our daycare.
Okay.
And she signed him up before she even started training. Because we're like, you could bring Kane and say, hey, I haven't trained with you guys yet, but here's my e-collar and here's my prong collar. Feel free to use it. And we go, thank you.
Yeah, because
I love that stuff because it makes our jobs easier.
Uh-huh.
Okay. And because we get dogs that come here that we've never even trained, but they have their training tools and we know how to use them. There's no work on us to reinforce anything, right? So it could benefit you in the sense that we can expose them to more dogs and we will be doing it essentially the same way that we're teaching you to do it. So everything's, how do you say, on the same page.
Yeah.
Otherwise, how do you say, like, not absolutely necessary to get you where you're wanting, because you also want to think that, let's say we got him social here and he's great here, but then you're like, Jesse, how come he's so easy with you guys, but with me, it's hard because you're his family.
So, yeah.
Yeah, and you're not us.
Wondering, if I went to go see Paige for a day, I could bring him to you guys and he could spend the day there at daycare. So it would work perfectly for me.
Yeah,
so that'd be nice. Okay.
Yeah. And just so you know, like Shadow actually comes here from time to time for daycare. We have a 3-day evaluation.
Okay.
They don't have to be consecutive, but it's $60. So it's like 3 daycare days for $20 a day.
Okay.
Our single day rate is $35. Yeah. You could always buy a bundle, but the next bundle would only save you $1.
Yeah.
In terms of a day. So I would just, as needed.
Yeah.
But you could take advantage of the 3 days for $20 a day. I have no problem with that.
Definitely.
And then, because since, like, we had one dog that literally had his first day, like, at end of 2019, and then the next one just before March, and then the last one was, like, a week ago.
Yeah. Okay.
So, yeah, that's perfectly fine. And then feel free to bring his stuff if you ever did that, and he'd be more than welcome here.
I'd probably have to bring him muzzled because I wouldn't feel comfortable handing him over to you and be like, good luck.
Sure. Yeah, because he is human. He's kind of iffy with people. We would ask that you do that.
Yeah.
Is he muzzle conditioned?
So he's very, I mean, I would say yes, he's very used to being in them. I need to get him a better one because I have like a crappy Baskerville, muzzle. I don't like it. He doesn't like that one that much either. And then I also have one of those like slip-ons that aren't actually muzzles. They just kind of keep their mouths not from being able to chomp.
Right.
So I'd probably bring him in the crappy Baskerville one. But if you have any recommendations for muzzles, I would love to have them because I would like a better muzzle for him. Just because I like having them, I think it's good that he functions in one. He's not one of those dogs where you put a muzzle on him and he won't move.
Sure. So for family pet, I actually think Baskerville is the best one
Okay. Yeah, he does not.
because they're sturdy. And they have the secure loop here to put the collar through, and then the third strap and everything, so it's very secure. Plus, the dog can pant, drink water, and eat food.
Yeah.
If you want one that looks more nice, there's Jafco, Jafco.
Okay.
Those are that's the brand I believe that the police canines use. They have a lot of Dutch Shepherds, German Shepherds, and Malinois. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, you'd have to do some research, but those are typically the two brands I recommend. It's either the Jafco or the Baskerville. And unless they need like a custom fitted one because they have like a bulldog or something. But otherwise, I think you're fine with that one.
Okay.
Okay. Anything else?
Nope. I think we've covered everything.
Okay. So Maria will reach out.
Okay.
And then, like I said, feel free to check out our YouTube channel, so that you're not getting stiffed on on your training again. Unfortunately, I get it all the time. I had one client that spent like 10 grand on trainers. And then I came in and I told him like, oh, this is pretty easy. Your dog's not aggressive. And I'm like, probably $1,000 all in with the training collar and stuff. And he was like, literally, are you fucking kidding me? And I'm like, I just spent 10 grand on this dog. And you're telling me, he's like, I don't believe you. I'm like, I was like, give me a couple classes. Trust me.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah.
So
yeah.
It happens. But yeah, we'll be in touch. And if you need anything else, just let us know.
All right. Sounds good.
Thank you, Sarah. Bye-bye.
Bye.